I appreciate y'all staying today. This is a presentation that I'm doing for one of my graduate classes, research, and I chose a topic of parent communication and involvement in the school. An introduction to this, the reason we are here. Parents and teachers are two of the most important contributors to a student's education success. When parents and teachers communicate well with one another, they are able to support student learning together, as such communication between home and school is vital. However, parents and teachers do not usually have obvious opportunities for interaction. The reason I chose this as my topic, my research topic, is because in 4th grade this year, we have 2 teachers and we are overloaded. We have 30 students each. We have behavior problems. A large percentage were scoring below level, and a low amount of parent communication and involvement. And we know already that parents being involved is a big contribution to student success. So the purpose of this study is to look at the amount of communication between teachers and parents and the effects it has on student engagement. And that means, how does parents being involved and teachers and parents communicating, how does that affect their behavior, their motivation in the classroom, their academics, their scores, and their homework? How much they do homework, how much they turn it in, and how much they pay attention and their motivation towards schoolwork. It is also to determine if parent communication will increase by implementing a method that is easily accessible and time efficient. A lot of the times, the reason our parent communication is so low is because we live in a low socioeconomic community, and a lot of the times we call, no one answers, and it's us mainly trying to reach out to parents, and it's a one-way communication. It's one-way communication. And a lot of the times parents say they don't get notes, or they don't get the letters, and they don't know what's going on in the school. So that has become a problem. And kids, another problem is kids don't turn in homework, or kids don't study for tests, and the parents say, well, I couldn't help them because I didn't know. So we are trying to come up with a better solution than trying to call parents or trying to send a note because they don't get them or they don't answer the phone. So it's lack of communication. So my research questions start with, does the amount of communication between parents and teachers affect student behavior and academic achievement? The second question that I will be researching and studying is, does implementing an easily accessible form of communication between teacher and parents promote and increase parent involvement? We are looking for a way that parents, it's not a hassle, it's not a problem. Many times teachers, we have 30 students in the classroom, we can't go to the phone and pick it up and try it while we have 30 students that we need to be watching. The only time that we have is during our planning time. Well, parents that work, they can't answer their phone during that time. So we wanted to research if it was easily usable for them, if it didn't take much effort, if they would get more involved and communicate more with teachers. So first steps, the review of literature. Although research shows that parental engagement in education has increased over the past 25 years, engaging parents continues to be a hurdle for many schools, ours included. The 2005 MetLife survey reported that new teachers were most likely to report their biggest challenge was communicating with and involving parents. More than 88% of parents say that their child, individual teachers, and general written communications from the school are either very important or absolutely essential sources of information about their child's school. So they admit that the information that the school gives them, handwritten or whatever, notes, is important, but a lot of the times the parents are not getting it. They're not getting the notes, they're not getting the letters, they're not getting the homework, they don't see the things that are being sent home from the school. This is from MetLife. It's a survey. Parental engagement is associated with, if you have good parental involvement, good communication with parents, these are the things that can benefit from it. You have higher academic achievement, increased attendance rates. That is also something that we have seen here lately. We started off with horrible attendance at the beginning of the year. So that is something also that I could include in my study because it has also increased since I've been doing this study. Positive student attitudes and behaviors, increased student readiness and interest in their work, increased parent satisfaction with teachers, and higher teacher satisfaction ratings. Also, we have parents prefer email and other digital means such as online blogs, online newsletters, online calendars of events and or homework, text messaging, and websites. The paper gets lost. Students may be irresponsible. So the parent prefers being able to look for themselves and seeing what's going on at the school. This research finds the institutions that invest in communication and provide opportunities for dialogue and dissent are the first choice for information about the services they provide. Consumer needs are changing. The backpack folder is no longer the primary source of information for parents. They want and prefer instant electronic information. That doesn't mean a timely letter from the superintendent or principal isn't effective, nor does it eliminate the need for multiple sources of information to reinforce the message. Still, the data demonstrates parents and non-parents alike turn to the web when they need information and they want it now. We have always sent out newsletters, you know that. Here's one of our newsletters actually right here. This is a newsletter that's going home this week for 4th grade. It has everything from what we're doing to notes from the teacher to important dates, the standards that we're doing in each subject. But parents don't always see that. They always have their phone with them. They always have technology because it is growing. So we wanted to incorporate technology into our communication system. We wanted to see if the communication grew, we wanted to see if parents were more involved, and we wanted to see if the students would improve attendance, improve their academics, and their behavior. The methods and procedures. For question 1, how does the amount of communication between parents and teachers affect student behavior and academic achievement? In order to prove this or study this, I looked at the current behavior reports and scores to those prior to the study. Okay? The participants for this study is my classroom, 30 students, 4th grade at Colony Elementary. The age range is from 9 to 11, 20 regular education, 10 special education. 26 of these students are Caucasian, 3 African American, and 1 Asian. The first thing that I'm going to look at in the instruments and materials that I need is the Class Dojo Behavior Reports. This is the new method that we are using. We have used Dojo all year long for behavior and tracking and giving positive and giving negatives and trying to influence them to do better. But we have just recently in December started using the parent portal, the communication. So that's how I'm going to gauge the communication. And that is the way that we are going to see if an easy, accessible way of communication is going to improve the student or the parent involvement. So this is an example of the Class Dojo report. This was my Class Dojo report from last month, March. And it was 93% positives. And then 7% were not negative, and it breaks it down into no homework, or talking out of turn, not listening, no effort, off task. Then you have positives, working hard, teacher compliments, participating, on task, present and on time, good behavior, returned homework, helping others. So it breaks it down. So you can see what types of good behavior you have, what types of bad behavior you have. And this is also, the parents get this on Dojo. parents receive it with the parent portal. We are also going to look at principal referrals. How many principal referrals at the beginning of the year when we were not using Dojo and the communication, and compared to since December. December is when we started using the parent communication portal. And we're also going to look at DEA test scores from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. At the beginning of the year, we had low communication with parents, low involvement with parents. In December, we changed that up. We started a new system, easily accessible, and we're going to compare that to the end of the year test scores to see if students grew or how much they grew. The first one is the Class Dojo reports. Data was taken from the Class Dojo report from the beginning of the year, which was prior to the new implementation of parent communication. So this is when I used the old communication with parents, that if I needed to talk to them, I'd have to try to call them, try to get a hold of them, try to email them. Sometimes I'd reach someone, sometimes I would not. And then it was compared to after I started communicating. Once the communication built up and I started getting that interaction with parents, it grew. So in September, towards the beginning of the year, 79% was positive. We had 21% of negatives. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're giving tons and tons of positives to try to build up their self-esteem and their motivation, and so we actually gave a whole lot of positives to try to build that up and try to motivate the students. So 21% negative behavior was pretty rough on the beginning. We had a lot of negative, we had a lot of behavior problems towards the beginning of the year. Then I ran the reports again in March, and I had 93% positive behaviors and 7% negative behaviors. That could have been anywhere from off task or talking out of turn, no homework. So you can see it improved quite a bit over the span of the study. Next, we're going to watch a short little YouTube video, and it kind of talks about how parents enjoy the Dojo app, and we're going to look at Dojo a little bit. So, I'm going to come over here.
Brenda Johnson, and I'm from Runner Park. My son's name is Austin.
My name is Michelle, live in Santa Rosa, and I'm a 9-year-old Trenton.
The first time I saw the Class Dojo report, I was able to see exactly when Austin was receiving positive remarks and when he was receiving negative remarks or improvements.
I feel that in the past, teachers would only email or call home when there was something really negative to talk about. Where now there's a way and an outlet for them to actually report good behaviors and where they're being helpful and they're following the class rules.
Instead of coming home and him saying nothing happened at school today, I had a tool.
Trenton has definitely grown. He's had to become much more accountable for his actions. He's excited on days to actually, Mom, did you see my Class Dojo? Or if he doesn't ask, I know there must be something on there that I need to see. For parents that are new to Class Dojo, I would just highly encourage you to just give it a chance to sign on and look at how your child's trending for the day, for the week, for the month.
She's part of our team. She's part of our home team, our school team, and Austin's able to see that we're all in this for him.
Okay, that gave the perspective of the parents, how they enjoy interacting and talking to the teacher. I'm going to show you now a little preview of Dojo because it is awesome if you have never heard of it. This is the main page. This is my page. It's got my school. It has 2 teachers because in 4th grade we switch. We have 2 classes and we switch. I teach reading to both classes. So I have access to all of her parents, all of her students. I can give them positives, negatives, and then all of my students. I'm going to show the demo class because for confidentiality, I do not want to show my parents and messages and my students' behavior. So the demo class, this is what it looks like when you pull it up. You have the students, you can click on their name, you can give them positives for good behavior, you can give them negatives for bad behavior. But then you have messages. Also, you have class stories. You can post on a wall just like Facebook, and you can show pictures, or you can tell what the whole class is doing. So that's a good form of communication. Messages, you click on messages, and you have all your parents, or all your students and parents listed here. You can invite parents to join. Since I have done this, I have 30 out of 30 students that have joined. Their parents have joined. They have the apps on their phone, or they can check on their iPads. They can check on their laptops. So it's very, very convenient. I send a message, they get it right then. If it's on their phone, they message right back. Instead of, if they have a question, they have to worry about calling, and then half the time the secretary can't let them talk to us if we're in class, so they have to worry about finding time on our planning, and then they're at work and we're on lunch break, and so it's just a hassle. So this is right then. A lot of times parents can't use their phone at work, but they can check their messages, so it's really good that they can message back right then. You can do a message to all parents, and it goes out to every one of the parents. It can be an update, it can be a reminder, or you can click on Brad Pitt here, and he's not connected, but if I was to do that in my classroom, it would go straight to the parent. And it also tells you, if I had my class pulled up, it tells you when the parent's seen the message and when they respond to the message. So you can tell if a parent saw it and maybe they just didn't respond. So that helps. That helps too, to at least know that you know that they received it and they know the information that you were sending. So that is that. And since I've started using this with my students in my classroom, the parents have loved it. I feel like I know my parents more than I ever have in the past. Since last night alone, I checked it last night and I had 4 messages around 10 o'clock. And then this morning I had an additional 3, and then throughout the day I've had messages all day long. And it could be something from as simple as, little Joe forgot his homework and I'm going to be bringing it by, or can you make sure that Susie rides the bus, or something as simple as that. They can let you know, and it's not such a big hassle. So that back and forth communication has really grown since this app has been enforced. Let's see, where was I? We have already did that slide. Review of literature. Participants. This is where we were at, comparing how the positives and negatives. And not only the behavior, because the students see that they are getting positives and on their big screen and negatives and they want to do better themselves, but their parents are also on their phone or on their laptop while you're at home. They're getting these reports. Every time you click a negative for little Tommy because he didn't have his homework, his parent is able to see that. Every time they're off task, the parent is able to see that. So a lot of times parents wait until the 9 weeks is up, and we have parent-teacher conferences, and then they hear all this stuff all at once. Well, they didn't have their homework, they're getting F's in this class, and they're getting, their behavior has declined. Instead of waiting until the 9 weeks is over, or parent-teacher conference, they're seeing it on a daily basis. They're able to communicate with their kids, communicate with parents, and fix the problems. The next thing we looked at is principal referrals. I looked at principal referrals from the beginning of the year, August when we started school, until the end of November. Because that is when I was using the old form of communication before we started the dojo communication. In that time frame, we had 12 behavior problems that required the principal to get involved. It was bad enough that the principal needed to get involved. Since then, so that's a 4-month time frame, 4 months. From December to March, that's another 4 months. Since then, we have had 4. So that has definitely decreased and declined the behavior problems. mainly because the parents are getting ahead of the problems. They're seeing the problems before, right when they happen, and they can stop it before it gets major. So I have backup now. It's not just me, it's me and the parent. The next thing we looked at was DEA scores. These scores, we take these tests 3 times a year, at the beginning, the middle, and the end. The fall, the winter, the spring. The fall was at the beginning of the year when we were using the old method of communication. It was lacking. If we communicated, it was me calling them and hardly ever getting involved. Next was the winter scores in December, which was right when we was starting to use it, right? We took this right before our Christmas break, and we started using it right at the beginning of December. And then at the end of the year, we took it actually right before spring break, and so we had been using it for about 4 months, and we grew to 91% on DEA. So that's a big gain. We started out really low, a lot of behavior problems, and academic. So we grew a whole lot since using this new method of communication. The next steps for this part, for question 1, is to further gauge the parent communication and its effects on student engagement. It would be beneficial to look at individual students, not just the whole group, how they grew, but to compare how one parent or one student grows or does not grow, but based on the parent, the amount of communication and involvement, to another student whose parent is not as involved or not does not communicate as much. So maybe to compare students individually and break it down even further instead of a whole group. That'd be the next steps. The next part of the study, research question number 2. Does implementing an easily accessible form of communication between teachers and parents promote and increase parent involvement? And I've talked about that a little bit already, but if you can give a parent an easy way to talk to you, and it's not a hassle, it's not a problem, and it's not going out of their way, then they may become more involved, and they may be, you may build that relationship with them a little bit more. So the way I'm going to show you the results of this is through charts and graphs. We used previous methods of communication. I'm going to show you what I used to use as the communication and how I logged that compared to the dojo. And then I'm going to show you the amount of involvement in parents from the beginning of the year to see if that has increased since the end of the year. Do we have more volunteers? Has more parents had their background checks? So let's look at the participants for this. Was the parents of my 4th grade students and 4th grade teachers were involved. The instruments and materials that I needed to use was the parent communication log, and I used that from August to November. And then the Class Dojo parent messaging portal, I used that from December until now, but I've only took the data through March. And then I'm going to compare the number of background checks for volunteers from the Family Resource. From August to November, I'm going to tell you it did not start out good. We did not have many parent volunteers, people getting back checks, not that involved. From December to March, did we add, did we gain? Is there more parent involvement since then? This is the old way. I use a parent contact form, and I know it's blurred, I'm so sorry, but to be able to put it on here, I had to blow it up a little bit. It asks for the date, the student that you're contacting, about the parent. Did you talk to mom, dad? Who did you talk to? Did you talk to them by phone, by email? And what was the what did you discuss? What was the reason for calling or emailing? I also usually make a note because sometimes they contact me, so I want to make sure if it was a contact from me to them or if I contacted them. On this, it is very rare that I fill up a whole one within the first 9 weeks, or sometimes even before Christmas. It's not that I don't try, it's just because parents don't answer the phone. A lot of the times at our school, I know I've had this problem, a lot of the times the phone numbers are disconnected or have been changed before I even get to talk to the parent the first time. So a lot of the times, the first time that I meet the parent is during parent-teacher conference. That is, if you can get the parent to show up. So we have had a lot of trouble at our school with parent communication. So this is the old form. I would write it down every time I talked to a parent and what the reason was. So then that wasn't working. Our new way, I sent this letter home for a 4th grade team, and it just talks about the new system that we're going to be using. It shows on this, what the reports are going to look like, how their students are doing, so it lets them know their behavior. But the important part that I highlighted is one of the greatest features of Class Dojo is that it allows us to send parents a behavior and skill report every Friday by email. You can send them every day if you want to. They can go on and log on and they can look at the behavior report anytime they want to. It doesn't have to be every Friday. This will also be a great way to communicate through the messaging system. All you need to do is use the parent access code to get signed up. Our hope is that this will help you better understand the progress of your students' behavior on a week-to-week basis. It is like a text message. If I want to talk to a parent, I message them, they get it up on their phone, they message me right back. But it's through the school, so that is a good thing. It's through the school, it's monitored, that is a really good thing. You have documentation right there, I don't have to fill out a form. And you can go back and look. Due to confidentiality, I'm not going to show my dojo, but you can click on a student and you can scroll. There's it's like back and forth talking, and it's so much easier to go over there and check messages. If you have a little number at the top of your screen, that means you have a message. Type it up, answer it right quick. It's very easy. So, this is looking at the parent activity involved in communication. Class Dojo, I have 30 parents. That is all of my students that is actively engaged in communication with me. Back and forth, look, asking questions, talking, sending me messages. Sometimes it's phone calls. I still get phone calls too, but 95% of mine is through Dojo. The previous communication tool, which was the log, I had contact with 16 parents. And that might have just been a one-time thing, or me calling them to ask them questions, a one-time thing. And I actually tried to call all of my students, but I couldn't get a hold of all of them. And that was for 4 months. 4 months, I've only talked to 16 of my students. Maybe once or twice each. This is all of my students, a lot. I talk to each parent a lot about everything. I send them important messages every week on there. So that's a weekly thing. So that increased. The number of background checks for volunteers at the beginning of the year, when we first signed up at the beginning of the year, my class, out of 30 students, I had 3. I had 3 parents that came on Meet the Teacher night before school started. I had 3 parents sign up for the background checks and do their confidentiality training. And it stayed like that. It stayed like that for the first 4 months of school. In December, we started communicating. It was the back and forth communication. We built a relationship. Parents wanted to get involved. Parents wanted to come and volunteer in the classroom. Parents wanted to know how they could help and wanted to know, what does my child need and how can I help my child and how can we get better? So they were more involved. They wanted to go on field trips with us. Last year we wasn't even able to go on one of the field trips because we couldn't get enough parents to go. So it has increased tremendously